that. And action certainly brings us to our next and final panelist, Tony Biglan. And his work is all about bringing people together around shared values to ensure the well-being of their communities. In addition to many other things, he's the founder of Values to Action, which advances these grassroots efforts we've been talking about to nurture society. So welcome back, Tony.
I think what you've heard is a ton of information about the degree to which people need to be in nurturing environments in order to succeed, in order to flourish, and so on. And much of my work, I published The Nurture Effect, just summarizing what we've learned, over the last 40 years. It's completely in sync with the things that other people have presented. But I want to talk about the larger social context that we have to address if we're going to make these conditions as widespread as possible. So I've been doing a lot of work on the current state of American society, and I think it's safe to say that it's abysmal. We have the highest rates of economic inequality of any country. We have the highest rates of child poverty, the highest rates of child abuse and neglect. We have highest levels of health disparities and premature death and so on. And much of that is because we have evolved a society in the last 40 years which said that if you maximize your own wealth, you will benefit everyone, the myth of the free market economy. And so we need to, in my view, we need a massive social movement to reverse the trends of the past 50 years. And it's not unprecedented to have a social movement to make a difference. In this country, the progressive movement that started in the late 1890s and went through the early 20th century engaged numerous people, organizations. The number of organizations that were created in the progressive movement are just stunning. The Boy Scouts, the Kiwanis, Rotary, Lions, suffragette movement, the temperance movement, the ACLU, Girl Scouts, and the reforms that were brought about there and even into the Great Depression led to the U.S. having the largest middle class that it has ever had. And unfortunately, what has happened since then, starting in the 1970s, was the advocacy for free market economics that moved both our values and our practices and our laws and policies in the direction of ensuring the well-being of the wealthy and immiserating most of the population. And so, and the other problem is that Robert Putnam wrote a book called Bowling Alone in America, which basically showed that somewhere in the 1960s, we began to have fewer and fewer people involved in these organizations. And in fact, many of them have barely survived. And basically, he traced that largely to the fact that the television became possible to entertain you. And so people stopped going to social groups and participating. So we have to rebuild that participation, and it's a substantial challenge. But I think one of the things that we've developed at Values to Action that could be helpful are what we call action circles, and we kind of stole that from study circles in Sweden, although the Swedes stole that from the United States. But the social democracy in Sweden has flourished because of all of these study circles that have had people participating in the civic engagement in their country. So what we found is that with action circles, we can help people focus on a specific problem and draw on the evidence. And I submit that almost any problem you could identify in a community that you wanted to deal with, within half an hour, you could identify evidence-based approaches to addressing those problems. So what we've done with action circles is we ask people to join them to work toward a specific goal, to do that for about 2 months, to agree to put in a couple hours a week. We meet every 2 weeks generally. And what we have found is that an action circle of 10 to 12 people can do magnificent things. So we ask people to work for to commit to just a couple hours. And part of our argument here is that if you're really busy with many other things and you don't feel you have the time and you're not sure how you could make a difference, we offer a way to have people volunteer for a small amount of their time, and in the process, be able to make a difference. So, for example, we've had action circles working on healthcare and the corporate focus on profit, and the way in which that is undermining health in the United States. We've got a paper we're about to submit that came out of that work. Then we've been able to help get the PAC's Good Behavior Game, which is a program that does exactly the kinds of things we've been talking about in terms of teaching cooperation and kindness and caring. And we've been using action circles to help get that adopted, and it's now in thousands of classrooms nationwide, although I can't take credit for most of that. And but here's how an action circle could work in a community. The first action circle could simply bring people together around a shared vision of the kind of things they want to have in their community. If this were the most wonderful community you could imagine being in, what would you see, hear, feel, and do more of? What would you see, hear, feel, and do less of? And people come together around a shared vision of what they want. And then it becomes possible to thank and reinforce the people who are doing things in favor of the positive things, but also to appreciate what organizations are doing to contribute to these things. So what we try to do is help a community develop a strategic plan that focuses on the goals and concerns that are greatest in the community. That might be child abuse and neglect. We've done a lot of work on that. It might be substance use or juvenile delinquency. But all of these things, the remedies are not focusing on the negative aspects of these things, but actually creating environments in which just the kinds of environments that people have been talking about, such that they become more likely to engage in kindness and caring toward themselves and toward others. And so an initial action circle can identify the specific things they want to work on, and then subsequent action circles can work on specific aspects. So maybe there's a concern about child abuse and neglect. So there might be one action circle that focuses on how we can get effective family interventions available to all of the families that could benefit from them. Another one might work on trying to prevent adolescent substance use, which is something we've done a lot of research on. So my hope is that we can use these action circles to engage more people in making a difference, because in about 2 months you get something done and you feel like you've made a difference, and maybe you want to do another action circle, but it was a small commitment, so it doesn't take a lot of time. You didn't have to give up your family, become a full-time activist. But if we do not engage many more people in promoting the kinds of changes that are needed, that includes, in particular, reducing the focus of corporations on profit maximization, that, in my view, is the central problem that is undermining all of the things we're trying to do. And so we have got to change the focus on that. And I think I'll stop talking.